Leviticus. Most scholars believe Moses wrote Leviticus during or just after the Exodus. The book gives a highly detailed account of God's laws relating to the atonement of sin. God designated the Levite tribe, Aaron and his sons, as priests in charge of the tabernacle and the handling of sacrifices. For the life of a creature is in the blood, and I have given it to you to make atonement for yourself on the altar. It is the blood that makes atonement for one's life. Leviticus 17:11. God's plan from the beginning included sin because he gave man free will so they could love him and their fellow man, which is a requirement for salvation. God also planned from the beginning the final bloodshed of his Son Jesus to atone for the sins of all humanity, past, present, and future. So the bloodshed of perfect animals was the symbolic atonement for sin prior to Jesus. The sacrifice rituals of the Exodus tabernacle continued at the first temple in Jerusalem that Solomon built. After the Babylonians destroyed the temple and the Jews were exiled to Babylon, the sacrifices stopped for 70 years. When Cyrus the Great of the Persian Empire took Babylon, he released the Jews and helped them rebuild the temple. Sacrifices then continued until the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in 70 AD, and they were suspended at that time. Today, the Jews are preparing to build the Third Temple and revive the sacrifices. Unfortunately, the Dome of the Rock stands on the spot where the temple must be built. Even though Jesus did come and, through his crucifixion, ended the requirement for animal sacrifices, the Jews still have not accepted Jesus as their Messiah. The Israelites were to bring their offerings to the tabernacle or later to the temple. Burnt offerings, grain offerings, peace offerings, sin offerings, fellowship offering, and guilt offerings were made so the Israelites could remain holy and walk closely with God. God gave the Israelites stringent requirements because they were to be exceptionally holy and a splendid example to the world. Leviticus 1-5-14-45 BC. Chapters 1-5 explain the offering requirements of the Israelite people. Chapters 6-7 explain the requirements of the priests and the procedures for handling the offerings. God called Moses to the tabernacle and told him to give the people instructions about the sacrifice offering they would bring to the tabernacle. There are several types of offerings and different procedures relative to each type. The first type of offering is a burnt offering, a food offering. It could be a bull from the herd, a lamb, a goat, or a bird from the flock. Whether bull or bird depends on the family wealth and what they could afford. They must be young, male, and without blemish. This food offering was to be presented at the entrance of the tent of meetings. The presenter is to place his hand on the head of the animal, symbolically transferring the sin into the animal for God's acceptance. A prayer is given asking God for forgiveness. The offering was slaughtered there, and the priests were to splash the blood on the altar side. The animal was to be skinned and cut into pieces, and the legs and the internal organs were washed with water. The cut pieces and the rest were given to the priest to burn on the altar. If the offering was a goat or lamb, it must be slaughtered at the north side of the altar. If the offering is a bird, the priest is to wring its neck, remove the crop and feathers, and throw them east of the altar where the ashes are. These animal offerings were for the atonement of sin and were performed twice a day, representing the day and the night, and they were a soothing aroma to God. The burnt offering symbolized complete dedication to God. The grain offering, a food offering, was mainly for the Levites to eat. A memorial portion, however, is to be burnt on the altar. The grain offering must be of the finest flour. Olive oil and incense were to be poured on it. The offering would be made without yeast or honey if it were cooked. All grain offerings were to be seasoned with salt. The purpose of the grain offering was to show thankfulness and appreciation of God's provisions. The fellowship offering, the peace offering, is a burnt offering from the herd or flock, male or female, but without blemish. The offering was to be handled like a burnt offering. If the offering was to be eaten by the Israelites, they were not to eat any fat or any blood. The fellowship offering is a free will gift offering to show devotion to God. Sin offering. The sin offering was required to forgive an unintended sin, such as touching something unclean without knowing it. These are sins committed without intention to disobey God's law, like doing something on the Sabbath that one did not realize at the time was work. In Leviticus 6 through 7, God gives instructions on how the priests are to handle the sacrifices that the Israelites bring to the altar. God told Moses that if an Israelite deceives his neighbor by cheating, stealing, swearing falsely, or lying about lost land found, and they realize their sin, they are to return and make restitution in full plus a fifth. This restitution must be given to the owner on the day the guilt offering was presented. The priests are to present the offering to the Lord, and the sin would be forgiven. Burnt offerings. God gave Moses instructions for Aaron and his sons, the priests, to handle burnt offerings. The offering is to stay on the altar overnight, and the fire must remain burning. The next morning, the priest must put on linen clothes, remove the ashes from the altar, and place them beside it. He is to change clothes then and carry the ashes outside the camp to a ceremonially clean place. The fire must be kept burning continuously and must never go out. The grain offering. Grain offerings were to be presented before God at the altar. A handful of flour, some olive oil, and incense were to be burnt on the altar as a memorial portion. The rest was to be eaten by Aaron and his sons without using yeast. The sin offering. The sin offering is to be slaughtered before the Lord, where the burnt offering was slaughtered. The priest who offers it may eat it in the courtyard sanctuary area. Whatever touches any of the flesh will become holy. If blood was spattered on a garment, it must be washed in the sanctuary area. If the meat is cooked in a clay pot, the pot must be broken. Bronze pots can be scoured in water. Any male in the priest's family may eat the meat, but the portions used for atonement must be burnt. Guilt offering. The guilt offering was to be handled like the burnt offering. It was given to make amends to God and others for the harm their actions had caused. By the way, before we continue, if you would like this video to be a witness to more people, please take the time to like and subscribe. YouTube promotes the videos based on the number of likes and subscriptions. You can also leave a comment if you like. We read and respond to all comments, and we greatly appreciate your input. If you would like to be a witness to others, please use the share button below to pass on this video to friends or family members. Leviticus 8 to 10. These chapters cover instructions on how Moses consecrates Aaron and his sons as priests and their duties to submit offerings to God. They also discuss dangers the priests may face if their tasks are not carried out correctly. Two of Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, were killed by God because they performed unauthorized sacrifices. Leviticus 11 to 15. These chapters advise the people of the purity and cleanliness laws, what to eat and what not to eat, and how to handle the uncleanliness of childbirth, skin diseases, bodily discharges, clothing, etc. God told Moses and Aaron to advise the Israelites what animals could be eaten. Basically, it included animals that both chew the cud and have divided hoofs. For instance, a camel chews the cud, but it does not have divided hoofs, so it is unclean to eat. Other examples would be the hyrax, the pig, and the rabbit. Any four-legged animal that walks on paws are unclean to eat. Rats, weasels, and lizards of all kinds are unclean. Fish can be eaten if they have scales and fins. All other water creatures are unclean. Birds can be eaten with the exception of the eagle, all vultures, all kites, all ravens, all owls, the gulls, all hawks, and the osprey. All insects are unclean with the exception of locusts, katydid, cricket, and grasshoppers. God also warned that if you touch the carcass of the unclean animals, you must wash your clothes and your bodies. Isn't it interesting that 6,000 years have gone by since Adam named these animals, and none have evolved into other species as evolutionists would like you to believe? Could it be that evolution worked up to 6,000 years ago and then just quit working? I don't think so. Chapters 12 through 15 covers what the Israelites should do about diseases, how to bury waste, and how to keep themselves clean and their surrounding clean and free of mold and other disease-causing situations. Leviticus 16, this chapter concerns the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, the only day of the year that priests are allowed to enter the Holy of Holies. The high priests are to sacrifice a bull to atone for the sins of the priests and a goat for the lay people's sins. A goat must also be let go into the desert to atone for the people's sins. This goat is called the Scape Goat. The priests place their hands on the scapegoat and symbolically transfer the Israelite sins to the goat. This practice is also symbolism for the day when Jesus will be the ultimate scapegoat, taking all mankind's sins on his shoulders. Leviticus 17 to 26. These chapters cover the Holiness Code, which concerns sacrifices to other gods and the results of not following the code. In Leviticus 17, God tells Moses to pass on to the Israelites that they are not to eat blood because life is in the blood. So all animals must be drained of blood before eaten, and the blood is to be buried. All sacrifices must be brought to the tabernacle to be slaughtered, so the priest can splash the blood on the side of the altar. Any Israelite that does not bring the sacrifice to the tabernacle is to be cast out from their tribe. In chapter 18, God tells Moses to warn the Israelites not to do the ungodly things that the Egyptians and Canaanite people do, that these nations are being driven out because of their sins. Listed are all the sexual sins. Inter-family relations, even remote family relations, are forbidden. If you have relations with a woman, you are forbidden to have relations with anyone else in her family. Do not have relations during a woman's period. Do not have relations with your neighbor's wife. Do not sacrifice your child to Molech. Do not have relations with a man as one does with a woman. Do not have relations with an animal. Moses warned the people that these sins also defiles the land, and they can lose it if they don't practice righteousness. So the Holiness Code chapters cover a list of sexual contact rules, child sacrifice, penalties for worshiping Moloch, consulting mediums and wizards, cursing your parents, engaging in unlawful sex, blasphemy, and eating of sacrifices. The code also covers rules for sabbatical and jubilee years, oil lamps and bread in the tabernacle, and slavery. The code tells the Israelites to follow the laws or face the punishments. Leviticus 27. God allowed the people who wanted to show extra appreciation for what he had done for them to dedicate something. The tabernacle did not need their labor because the Levites cared for everything. They could make a gift of money to pay off a little at a time. So if they dedicated a house, a child, or a cow, they needed an evaluation of the dedication in money. This chapter assigns a monetary value to people according to their age and places a value on livestock, etc. Moses gives instructions on how to handle the various dedications. Summary: the book of Leviticus covers a short period in the Exodus when the Israelites were camped at Mount Sinai. God set down all the laws that must be followed to be holy and righteous in his eyes. The tribe of Levites had been assigned to take care of the tabernacle, taking it down and transporting the tent and all the utensils, Ark of the Covenant, etc. When they got to the next camp, they would set it all back up and prepare for the sacrificial offerings. Since the people did not follow the laws of God, they were led around in the wilderness for 40 years. Leviticus explains the different sacrificial offerings, their purpose, and how they are to be conducted. The importance of the Levite priests, the reverence they must have, and the responsibilities they have are covered with great detail. The book covers cleanliness, good health practices, and describes what animals are considered clean to eat. The celebration of the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, and the Scape Goat are described. The Holiness Code covers the laws about sexual sin, handling sacrifices, and how to handle gift offerings. We are now ready to move on to the book of Deuteronomy, where Moses recaps the 40 years of the Exodus for the young Israelites who are about to enter the Promised Land. We have started uploading the videos covering each book of the Bible and plan to add a book every month. As of this writing, the books of Genesis through Ruth are on the channel, including a short 4-minute introduction to the Bible. Please don't forget to click on the like and subscribe buttons below the screen to help us witness to others. You can also leave a comment if you like. We answer all comments. If you would like to send this video to friends or family members, please use the share button below. Then click on the next video icon to continue the journey through the Bible. You can also click on the channel icon to see all the videos available. Thank you for watching this video. May God richly bless you and your family.